Hello and welcome to the very first KBB episode on our dedicated YouTube channel. Every week we're going to continue to bring you the latest news and views of the experts about all the big small business issues, and also we aim to inspire you by small business owners doing it well and picking up the tips that they have for all of us to make our business more profitable. But before we start, of course, news you can use. And would you believe Facebook is being sued by a Dutch programmer for the like symbol that they use on their page? This Dutch programmer apparently came up with the symbol back in the 1990s. Now, he's since died, but the estate that owns the patent for that like symbol is suing the social media giant. Now, what can we learn from this? It's very important for every small business to protect its intellectual property. It's easy to do, and if you go to the link down below on this page, it will take you through to a story that we've already written that will hold your hand to make sure you're protecting everything. Now, over the last couple of weeks, politicians from both sides have been flying all these kites about changes to superannuation. Now, for most small business owners, particularly those with self-managed superannuation funds, superannuation has been a wonderful way to build personal investments outside of your business environment. For most of us, our superannuation fund is now a major asset, and we do not want politicians fiddling around with it. So how can you protect your superannuation from any changes? Joining me is Gemma Dale, a financial guru from the NAB Private Wealth Group, and MLC, who's their superannuation expert. Gemma, good to see you. Now, all of these politicians are spooking us at the moment with our superannuation. What can we do to protect it?
So I think the most important thing is to understand superannuation first and foremost. So how does it work? How does it operate? Don't get too scared by the headlines. Some of them are terrifying, and yet if you look into the detail, it may not impact you at all. If it does impact you, it may be very minor. It's still probably the most tax-effective vehicle for any small business person or any person. You know, if you have a decent amount of money, it's very hard to compete with zero tax for the rest of your life after the age of 60. That's a pretty compelling proposition. So if you understand the system, you will probably be less nervous about some of the changes that are proposed and floated, as you say. Once you understand the system and the impact of any potential change, it's very much about looking at your personal situation and going, am I optimising what's available to me now? So, am I using up my caps? Am I contributing as much as I can? And what we've seen happen over the last few years is going from a system where you had no limit on what you could put in, but fairly strict limits on how much you could take out on a sort of concessionally taxed basis, to now there's very big limits on what you can put in, but you get it all out tax-free. And I think that, you know, those levers will change over time. Okay. If they change, well, are you using the ones that are most valuable to you?
So let's start with a couple of instances. Those people over 50, say between 50 and 55, what can they do?
So you can't withdraw it. That's probably the most important thing, unless you have met a condition of release, as we call it. So you are permanently retired after your preservation age, and that's 55, then you can't access it. But if you're totally and permanently disabled, or you meet one of the other sort of more unusual conditions, you can get it. Dying is one way, but I wouldn't recommend it. So you probably can't do anything to access the funds, but you can invest it appropriately. So if you have a self-managed fund, which is most appropriate for your audience, then making sure that those funds are invested in all the assets that you want to be invested in, that you're looking at it closely and ensuring you're getting the kind of return that you'd like, that's really important. Right. And also taking advantage of the contribution limits that you do have available is probably the best you can do in that sort of age bracket.
All right, is it any different if you're aged 55 to 60? Do you have more flexibility to do different things?
So 55 to 60, it gets a little bit more interesting because you can permanently retire and then take your funds. So you can actually withdraw, or you can start a pension. Most people start a pension. It's a lot more tax effective for most people. So when you start a pension, there's two things that happen from a tax perspective. You have to withdraw income from it. It's a critical thing about a pension. you take your funds from being in an environment where any earnings are taxed at 15%, which is probably much lower than your marginal tax rate, to 0. So you don't pay any tax on earnings, which is very attractive. And then what you withdraw is taxed, but you get a 15% rebate on that. Right. So that's quite attractive as well. So taking your money to a pension phase can be really appealing. You can only do that if you're retired, or you start what's called a transition to retirement pension. And the big difference between a transition to retirement pension and an ordinary pension, which you can start if you're retired, is you've got a limit of 10% on how much you can withdraw every year. Right. This one you can withdraw as much as you like, that one 10%, no more.
And if you're over 60, you can just get your money out at any time, tax-free, is that right?
Well, you need to meet a condition of release. So over 60, the condition of release changes a little bit. So you need to have resigned from an employment arrangement. So this is a funny one. If you happen to be for a doctor, for example, and you have a lot of employment agreements with different firms or different hospitals, for example, resigning from one technically means you can access your money. Difficult if you're self-employed and you work in your own business, because you're going to have to resign from that business, and the ATO doesn't look terribly favourably if then you go and start working with them the next week again. So, you've got to be quite careful about how you manage that, but it's not as hardline as when you're 55 to 60, when you have to permanently retire and have no intention of going back to the workforce.
Gemma, thank you for that. You're an absolute whiz. You've set our minds at rest. Really appreciate it. Now that we've looked after your financial well-being, what about your emotional and physical well-being? How good is your work-life balance? Well, after the break, we're going to show you how to make it better. Subscribe now to the Kochie's Business Builders app, delivered to your mobile device on a fortnightly basis. You'll get the very latest advice from the KBB team of experts, and also exclusive interviews with Australia's most successful entrepreneurs. Download now by searching for Kochie's Business Builders on the App Store. Before MasterChef's pastry genius Adriano Zumbo became a huge success, he was a struggling pastry chef that was finding it tough to get that work-life balance right and build a brand. We lent him a hand at the time, and this is how we helped. After training in Paris at the world-famous École Le Notre, pastry chef Adriano Zumbo now runs his own slice of a shop. Problem is, he's working well over 70 hours a week. Work-life balance expert Dr. Adam Fraser is on the case.
So how long are you expecting to keep this up?
Well, I hope to only have to do it for a few years.
For a few years. Right, well, what do you think about looking at strategies to reduce how much you're doing?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Just because, like, there is, we talk about work-life balance, you have no balance at all. So, first of all, is there things that you do in a day that you could get rid of and someone else could do, which would free up a bit of time for you?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So such as?
Delivery driving. I do deliveries.
So you do the deliveries?
Yeah.
All right, how much time would you spend on that a day delivering?
Oh, it can be up to 3 to 4 hours sometimes. 3
or 4 hours of your day?
Yeah.
That's like a third of your day you spend in the car driving.
Yeah.
Are you doing other business stuff in that?
No.
Because the thing is, for you, time is just like, it's gold, it's a premium.
Yeah,
and you've got to treat every minute as sacred. So the thing is, you should not be doing the delivery driving.
Definitely not.
The problem is, a lot of people, when they open a business, they basically inherit a job and they try and do everything themselves. And what you've got to do is start looking at your business as that you're the leader and you should be doing the strategic stuff and developing the business rather than the grunt work like doing the delivery. So number one, we're going to look at get you a delivery driver. What else are you doing that you think you could outsource that would free you up to do other stuff like marketing and developing?
Probably a bit of the bookwork, really, you know.
How much time would you spend on your books?
Maybe an hour a day.
An hour a day?
Yeah.
So over the course of a week, you're talking 6, 7 hours.
6, 7 hours, yeah.
So once again, you could get a bookkeeper that will do it better than you, no offence, for a cheaper rate, and that would free you up another 7 hours. So already we've got 4 hours a day and another 7 hours, and that's going to be minimal cost to you, but you'll get a huge amount back.
Definitely.
Okay, so in terms of your business, you've got this premises where you make everything, and you've got the shop, and you also distribute through other people.
Yeah.
So how can you reduce your time in here? Can you put someone on to do more baking?
Definitely more putting a head chef in charge and probably getting
So
another
you
person.
are going to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. What about when you're in the office and, you know, doing business planning stuff? Like, how much time would you spend in there?
At the moment, I don't get much time because it gets pushed to the side, which it shouldn't really.
Which is
it's the most important thing, and I push it across. So
one thing that people often fall into is they faff about and they touch a lot of things but never finish it, and they try and multitask. Would you say you do that?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, it's a real common. The thing is, multitasking is really bad for your performance. You're ineffective. You're trying to do too many things. You never finish anything. So another characteristic I want you to take on is start to think about when you start a task, finish it. Because so many people are trying to do too many things at the one time. And all they do is basically spend a lot of time dabbling but never getting things done. So when you're in the office, what I want you to do is have a clear plan about what you want to get done and do it.
So many people have great ideas, but very few of them take them to the next step and commercialise them. Alex Mitty and Daniel Gildard came up with a great idea of a product for the aviation industry, but were struggling with how to take that first step on the commercialisation route. Our retail expert, Kira McGugan, lent them a hand.
Here's the first thing I want you to start thinking about from a marketing and sales perspective, and that's the difference between the customer and the consumer. Because we've got two different groups that we're marketing to here. An airline who's looking at a product such as this, they're thinking about, well, okay, I'm not using it, but why would I buy it? That's where I want to introduce you to a position that I think will help you and your business, and any business for that matter, sell more effectively. And it's what I call the consequence principle. If you're looking at Qantas, for instance, and there's a particular officer within Qantas who'd be responsible for purchasing this, what's the consequence if they don't use our products and service? The best people who are good at selling things actually really aren't doing what I call the hard sell. They just help their customers make better buying decisions.
So how do you get to the right people in the organisations?
Okay. Well, you said the right thing. How do you get to the right people? Okay. And the right person often isn't the person who's got the badge or the name. Okay. The right person is someone who's you're going to have a conversation with, or an influencer. So when you pick up the telephone and make a cold call, guess what's going to happen?
Well, they're going to hang up.
Yeah. Well, no, most people are polite. Yeah. They'll politely say no, or he's unavailable. What'll happen after the 9th or 10th call? They're still going to say no, he's unavailable, I'm sorry, he can't meet, etc. We have to work on the basis that why are they going to say yes to you? Okay, because really go back to that consequence principle, there's no consequence to them saying that. Okay. One of the easiest ways that's going to get people to say yes is going to be by reference. Websites like LinkedIn.com allow you to build networks and find people in organisations and find a contact path, if you like, through that. Another website I recommend that you have a look at is a website called jigsaw.com.
Okay.
Yeah? And that's essentially a database which is available, it's global, and you can type in particular officers and particular jobs, and it'll give you that data, and you can buy it down one at a time, as opposed to buying large lists from list brokers. So key things you need to have: lists of different customers and consumers, and then start building from a sales perspective a contact plan. So you use a customer relationship management database. Now there's many different flavors in the marketplace. Probably the dominant one is Salesforce.com. Mm-hmm. It's very cheap, it's very effective, and there's a general rule in sales which says that new customers can't make a yes decision until they have had 5 or more contacts. So the question then is, after I cold called them and left a voicemail and they didn't respond, after I shipped them the product and they got it and they didn't respond, I mean, when we're beating our head against a brick wall, what do we do to get through? Well, I think the key thing here is that you need to have a number of different lines in the water when you're fishing. You can't just be reliant on the one prospect. The more prospects that you have in the marketplace, the greater you're going to hedge your bets that one of them is going to come off. And really, we only need one of them to say yes, and you're in business.
Now, we receive so many questions here at the Business Builders website that we can't answer them all, but we try and get through a couple every week. This one from Billy, who says, For a startup just trying out a business concept, at what point should you officially register as a business? Well, Billy, it really depends on that time where the business idea goes from being a hobby to a mainstream business that has potential for growth. That stage varies from industry to industry and company to company. Go to our website to the startup section and it will give you an indication of when that could be for you. That's when you need to go and talk to your accountant or get a good accountant or bookkeeper on board, and they will be able to steer you in the right direction on what sort of should you register as a sole trader, as a partnership, or as an incorporated company. It depends on the size of the business and how far it's going to go into the future. So a lot of questions to ask yourself, all the information on the website.
This is an iconic business in northeastern Tasmania which grows true French lavender, fine oil production and tourism. For us, it's so important to have a website which has got spontaneity and vitality. We're changing daily as a business and we need to communicate that to our customer base.
KBB Webinar Box is really good because I'm not tech savvy whatsoever, so it's really simple to use. It's got a lot of help functions there if you ever get stuck. It's really easy to maintain and it just works.
To start your free trial today, go to kbbinabox.com.au. Well, that's it for this episode of Business Builders on the KBB YouTube channel. We'll be back next week. Catch you then.